What's some popular self-care, self-love advice that is actually really toxic? That you should expect unconditional support, love and acceptance from friends or romantic partners. Popular idea. But if people really care, they will tell you when you are harming yourself or others rather than just keep the vibe chill. Unconditional support does not mean they go along with whatever you want. It means they care about you and support you, even when you make bad decisions. And sometimes, supporting you means telling you how it is. Ignore the haters. Sometimes the haters are people who love you and want to warn you of potential pitfalls, such as MLMs, cults, abusive relationships, etc. Update. A few people are saying that the definition of haters is, essentially, only people who are hating for the wrong reasons. I agree, that's what this advice intends to communicate. Basically, don't pay any attention to people who project consistent irrational negativity your way. My concern is that this phrase is so easily misapplied as a self-love mantra, which ultimately serves to keep some vulnerable people from listening to the valid and well-intentioned concerns of loved ones. It can be used by a manipulative person to keep victims' vulnerable followers in line. I like haters gonna hate better because it implies there is a pattern, like, oh, that person is always hating, so of course they're hating now. But if your sister is usually supportive, and definitely not a hater by nature, and is suddenly very concerned that your relationship is abusive, listen up. I think it comes down to the idea that you have, arguably, more to lose by disregarding a well-intentioned friend than by paying attention to an ill-intentioned one. I appreciated the feedback and did not find any of you to be haters. Always trust your feelings. This advice is everywhere. No, oftentimes our feelings require introspection to work through them and make positive change. Sometimes those feelings are just bull's-hangry thoughts. The sort of positivity that relies on dragging other people down. I see it the most around body image issues in particular, but can apply to other things too. And I just think it's really sad. It doesn't solve any of the underlying issues, just makes more people feel rubbish about themselves. Cut off anyone that doesn't bring you peace. Obviously this applies to people who are constantly, deliberately making you miserable. But a stressful situation or argument with a friend that you care about doesn't count if you haven't attempted to work it out with them. It's not really advice, but it's popular for people to label themselves as brutally honest. Honesty is good, but beware of people who are more interested in the brutality than the honesty. I once read something that said honesty without kindness is cruelty, and I think about that a lot when I'm deciding whether or not to say something. Once you fall out of love with someone, you cannot fall back in love with them. Worst advice I ever got. I'm so glad I gave it a second try. True enough. Hey, people change and develop all the time. In 20 years time you're two completely different people, with new experiences, wisdom, education, pressures, interests. B. The idea that you can't fall back in love with someone was probably made up by the most stubborn types of people who fail to see how anything can change, and why they ever should try. Stop texting people first to see who your friends are. What if they are doing the same thing and you just ended a friendship due to a misunderstanding? Any form of testing your relationships like that is basically heading towards abuse territory. Imagine if a guy decided to stop responding to his girlfriend to see if she loves him enough. Yeah, no. Why are you sad? You have everything to be happy. Even if there's few happy things in your life, you don't need to be ashamed to feel sad or depressed. The crap parents tell you when you say you are depressed. Don't let yourself act like the victim. Had someone tell me not to let my wife feel like a victim after being sexually assaulted. I hear people say this a lot because they think it helps real victims feel less like one, but people need to process things. They can't just run through the healing process by pretending it didn't happen. When it comes to sexual assault, I also find it weird when people act like it's bad to say you were a victim, and that you should call yourself a survivor instead. Why should I call myself that? Nobody tried to murder me. It's also not a thing in my first language, so maybe that's why I think it's so weird. Guilt is a wasted emotion. Pretty sure it was Wayne Dyer who published this nonsense in the 80s. Having at least some guilt is a good sign that you're not a psychopath. There's no wrong way to parent. As a child of abuse, there are absolutely wrong ways to parent. Frankly, I'm of the opinion that the majority of chronic mental illnesses are the result of crappy parenting practices, because crappy parenting can frick up every body system. Every parent should consult a child psych professional just like they consult a pediatrician about their child's well-being. They're professionals who have the education to read research studies regarding child development and can direct a parent on how to raise a healthy child. It really should be there's no single right way to parent, but there are many wrong ways to parent. Any kind of advice that tells you to test friendships by withholding contact to see if they'll notice, or straight up tells you to drop friends that don't reach out to you regularly. This is a very selfish and passive aggressive thing to do. If you miss your friend, then call them up. Don't play cat and mouse games. Maybe they have crap going on in their lives. The world does not revolve around you. I don't mind being the one to reach out. When I'm clearly the only one reaching out, I do wonder how much the person actually values me. Not in a frick you and all the other crap you got going on way, but more like, if you aren't reaching out to me, I just sort of wonder why we're friends. Follow your heart. Honestly, this statement almost never works. Sometimes love can be toxic, and maybe the correct decision is painful. Maybe it pains you to leave someone. Your heart shouldn't rule you. Your heart is stupid. Listen to your heart but follow your head. If people don't like you for you who are, that's their problem. No, sometimes you're the butthole. 9/10 the common denominator rule stands. If you run into an butthole every now and then, that's normal. If everyone you interact with is an butthole, you're the butthole. The how not to give a frick nonsense. I agree. Don't give a frick what people think if you enjoy a certain type of music, but do give a frick about how your actions affect other people. Unfortunately, it seems that many people just take it to mean don't care that you might hurt other people. In order to self-care and self-love, it is important to consider what consequences your actions have on the world around you. The whole blood is thicker than water advice, where you should feel obligated to be loyal to your family no matter what. If they are toxic or abusive, then there is no reason for you to keep that around in your life, especially if it is detrimental to your own well-being, mental health. Find a job you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. First of all, even a job you love is going to suck. Often, that's why they pay you to do it. This advice leaves you feeling like a failure whenever you have a bad day at work. Plus, there's a lot of value in working for a living and finding your satisfaction at a more personal level. I love what I do, and let me tell you something, I've worked some days. Brian David Gilbert. Advice to surround yourself only with positive people. If you're willing to cut people from your life when they are a bit down, that's a recipe for people hiding the negatives in their life from friends, only discussing the positive and having mostly superficial friendships, for fear of you being cut out of their lives. I'm not saying you need to keep people in your life who are treating you badly, but we all go through times when we are up and times when we are down. Friends give you fire time through both. This is a cure. Shows a picture of the woods. This is poison. Shows some antidepressants. Shut the frick up. Some people need antidepressants to function. Going for a walk in the woods will not just magically cure your depression. If you can't make your own neurotransmitters, store-bought is fine. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Basically just a green light to be a crappy human being. I've always considered this one to have been appropriated by crappy people. I think that the core of the saying is that everyone has crappy moments where they aren't a pleasure to be around. It was meant to address other people who only wanted to be with someone who was wonderful all of the time. Unfortunately, the crappy people have taken the phrase over, much like most sayings. Anything with detoxify in the description. If you have a liver, you already do this. A juice cleanse isn't going to make up for your bottle of vodka and may even make it worse. When people say no one is too busy to talk to someone they care about, this is so toxic to expect people to talk to you every day. Yes, sometimes people have other stuff going on in their lives. It doesn't mean they don't care. You have to love your body. Mother, I am short, bald, ugly, and I have chronic pain. My body betrays me at every turn. Frick that guy. That's exactly it. Like dang, I don't have to love my body when I just don't like it, but I sure as heck can love myself despite what I think of my body. Happiness is a choice. Dang. I must be choosing depression then, I guess. You can be anything you want if you try hard enough. Some people have gifts and talents that other people don't. That's the reality, and even though hard work will get you far, there are points where you need to acknowledge that you won't be the best at everything, even if you love what you do, and you aren't cut out for every vocation. Man up, keep it together, or be strong when you're either in pain or on the verge of tears for different reasons, as if crying is a sin when you're a guy. All you need is the proper mindset, especially for wellness coaches. First of all, screw to the ever-loving gates of heck whoever thinks this is all it takes. I am 100% aware that mindset is probably the most important variant to being happy and successful, but some days suck, and to minimize every problem to this completely dehumanizing. Sometimes your dog dies a week after you lost your job, and you have to realize that any amount of mindset wouldn't help you be a better you in 7 days or whatever these mindset coaches are saying. Don't get me wrong. I am all here for personal development. I actually work in marketing, and there is so much of that in the entrepreneur world. In general, they help way more than they harm, but that doesn't excuse the heartless way they deal with the people for who their pre-planned coaching plan doesn't work. Since they are not trained mental health care professionals, they can't help the person actually find the right kind of help, and it can lead to this person losing control and spiraling into psychosis. These coaches don't care. Mindset and money, that's all. Anyways, if you are one of those people who sell, not just think but sell the whole philosophy that all you need is a proper mindset and you can get anything, burn in heck. People who die of suicide because of your cult-like techniques are blood on your hands. Rant over. Yeah, I mean, they're right. All you need is the proper mindset, but that's like saying all you need to be successful is $1 million seed fund. Oh okay, I'll just go get that. I have a killer mindset, acknowledges growth, neuroplasticity, is kind to myself and others, reasonable, grateful, empathetic, and that crap took me a solid 33 years to develop. Just follow your heart. Bulls. This whimsical, free spirit bulls will frustrate you and cost you time and money. You need advice. You need help. You need guidance. Your heart is emotional and probably the least rational of things you should be following. Make an informed decision instead of an emotional one and you'll be better off. Don't hate your parents. However they are, they're still your parents. Frick this. I don't support child abuse a single fricking bit. Stop looking for love and it will come to you. Maybe that works if you're naturally attractive and naturally interested in things that enhance your attractiveness, i.e., working out, makeup, fashion, whatever. But if you're a shy, introverted person of average to below attractiveness, this is good advice to stay sad and alone forever. Only people that watch too many frickin' Disney and Lifetime movies believe that crap is true. The girls who are always posting about treat yourself, or if he doesn't treat you like a queen emoji, it's time to find a new one. Now, one is bad financial advice. If you know you can't afford something, don't do it. And the other is not how partnerships work. You should be each other's best friends, not worshipped like he's your subjects desperate for your approval. If your ideal relationship is one of superiority instead of equality, then you probably have mental health issues. Personally, I use treat yourself as a way to remind me it's okay to spend a little on myself every now and then. Nothing crazy, but that if I want to spend $20 on something, it's okay. If you can't love yourself, how are you going to love anybody else? Can I get an amen? I love my girlfriend. I love my friends. I love my family. I love my cat. I still don't love myself, but that doesn't make my love for others any less meaningful. Anything is possible if you work hard enough. No, not everything is possible. You're not going to be the new Nelson Mandela, freaking president of the USA, or the new pop artist. I'm sorry to tell you, but it's true. For every person who says all my dreams came true because I worked hard and believed in myself, there are dozens more who can say I worked my butt off but it just didn't happen. I do believe that the chances of bettering your life through hard work are high enough to make it absolutely worth it, but there is a massive gap between better is highly likely and anything is possible. IDK if this counts as self-love advice, but beyond txt frst if the yreli crt hail any shire to conversatine is a nice way to get yourself lonely. While that's very true, it would feel nice to be reached out to. I have found that I have to initiate most conversations in my life, and there's always this little voice on the back of my mind asking me if I'm bothering them or if this is just a one-way relationship. Astrology. I'm glad it gives you comfort, but if you start basing life decisions on the effects of the stars, you're probably going to have a bad time. I just keep thinking of that housing group on Facebook who rejected potential housemates because a Capricorn would dom the special place for soft, mutable signs to run free untethered by cardinal authorities. Live like you were dying. Wait, after quitting my job and burning all my money traveling, and I'm not dead afterwards, how am I supposed to pay my bills now? The advice being quoted in here are toxic when taken as absolutes. It's not bad advice if you use it as one viewpoint among many, and balance it out with others. As Obi-Wan once said, only a Sith deals in absolutes. You never know what you have until it's gone. This saying is intended to remind you to appreciate what you have and cautions that if you don't and it leaves you will regret it. This saying popped into my head a million times after I left my abusive ex. Context really matters with these life mantras. Wellness advice. No one can hurt your feelings without your permission. Bulls. If someone I care about says something offside, of course I will consider it truth until I prove otherwise. That's just respect. I'm not going to blindly assume everyone is wrong if they say something that hurts. I think that advice is trying to turn people into sociopaths. Make everything all about you, because you're worth it. Don't take no for an answer, pester them until you get a yes. Don't take no for an answer, pester them until you get a yes. That's a quick way to end up with a restraining order. For lonely people, you can't love others until you learn to love yourself. While having self-respect is important in establishing a healthy relationship, to some this can lead to a downward spiral of feeling unlovable because they're incapable of self-love. When the advice to deal with an anxiety problem is pretty much just remove the things that cause anxiety from your life. I'm sorry, but this just sometimes isn't an option for people. And I think most people understand this to be the first step to trying to deal with anxiety before it gets more severe. If somebody's anxiety is getting to the point where somebody else is getting concerned for them, then likely there's a larger underlying issue, like them being stuck in a bad living situation or in a job that's difficult to leave or something like that. And just repeating the most asinine kindergarten level advice that you should avoid things that are causing you too much stress doesn't benefit everyone. Plus there's also some situations or events that are just going to be stressful whether you like it or not, and you just kind of have to put up with it even if you yourself have some sort of stress or anxiety disorder. These kind of situations, the focus should be more on how to have better handle that stress, how to better recognize that emotion, and finding positive methods of distraction and subversion to help keep them from hyperfixating on it. Obviously I'm not a medical professional and you'll find better resources online about dealing with stress stuff, but my main point here is that the advice of just removing the stressor from your life is not only unhelpful but frankly a bit insulting to the intelligence of a person receiving the advice. Yep. There's no avoidance strategy. For example, if the sources of your anxiety are the universe itself, the intrinsic value of life, whatever that quantity may be, and the passage of time. Burning bridges and cutting people off, ghosting them with no explanation because you're no longer getting what you want out of the relationship and you don't owe them anything. Okay, it's one thing if we're talking about an abusive relationship, but this mentality seems to promote childish, conflict avoidant behavior masked as self-care, aka good vibes only. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.